Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The gentleman whom I am about to introduce came to Washington from Illinois a little over 2 years ago as a comparative unknown on the national scene. Today, he is nationally recognized as the ambassador of deregulation. He has won the praise of President Reagan and the financial industry for his leadership as chairman of the National Credit Union Administration Board. In fact, the President's private sector on cost control recently described Ed Callahan as a role model for federal executives striving to get the federal government off the private sector's back. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here is the Honorable Edgar Callahan himself. Ed, the floor is yours. Good morning again.
Good morning. Thanks, Joe. Ambassador, he says. You know, if I knew how to make a speech, I probably could be an ambassador, but given the facts, there's not much chance. I want to stand up here and ramble a little bit. I think most of you know that I never did claim to be a public speaker, and I'm more comfortable with questions and answers, and that's not our format today. Actually, I'm supposed to talk about the state of the credit unions, and I've got about 12 minutes left to do that. And so before I forget it, I'm going to tell you right now, in one word, the state of the credit unions, okay? Let's just say they're unbelievably, incredibly, outstandingly, and the word is fantastic. So I gave you the condition. But I said I'd do it in one word, and just to prove I ramble, I used 3 descriptive adjectives. I wish I could hold the rest down to just 3. But I hope that the report I give on the state of the credit unions will be a commitment to you, just as my boss has made the commitment that I want to finish the job. It's not lost on me that this may be my last government affairs as chairman of NCUA to stand up here and do just that. So, along with my boss, I think finishing the job is very important. So before we get to the point of finishing the job, let's assess what really has been going on. 75 years ago, the founders had some really great visions, and I can't help but feel that they've got to be very pleased with your accomplishments today. This is a big 50th anniversary for CUNA, 50th anniversary for the NCUA because of the passing of the Federal Act. It's not lost on me that the only reason there ever was a Federal Act is that the founding fathers of CUNA came into this town and worked doubly hard to get that passed. And part of the vision they had was to spread credit unionism across this country. And after 25 years, they noted that progress was slow state by state and that a federal law would enable them to do it a lot faster. And the assignment of the first examiners in that Bureau of Credit Unions under the Department of Agriculture 50 years ago was to go form credit unions. So isn't it kind of funny that after 50 years we might well be right back where we started and doing the same thing? For the first time in 50 years, credit union boards are probably back to those fundamentals, making decisions on how to run their credit union, not having the government do it for them. And certainly 50 years ago, credit union boards were out deciding what's this all about, what's good for our membership, and how we do it. And that got watered down over 50 years, but I think we've made the cycle. We call it deregulation. A couple years ago, we may have debated it. We talked about it. But I think it's passé now, and it's an opportunity to look at it. This past year alone, in probably the real first year of deregulation for competition, for banks, S&Ls, along with credit unions, you've grown at a rate of 20%. 20%. Check the numbers. The banks have grown at a rate of 6%. The savings and loans have grown at a rate of 11%. I rest my case. Can you handle deregulation or can't you? Along with that, the growth, I think, speaks to the ability of credit union boards to deal with their own affairs. Now, what about growth? In this past year alone, in federal credit unions alone, 7,000 groups have been added to existing credit union memberships. States started this long before the feds did, so I think it's safe to assume that if we had the state numbers here, we'd be looking at a minimum of 10,000 groups. And how timely it is. The Fortune 500 companies have lost 3 million workers. Decrease in employment, 3 million workers over the last 5 years. And yet credit unions have expanded their potential of by at least 2.5 million people by taking in interested groups. So this is your determination to broaden your base for whatever reason. I think it's a sign that you are at the cutting edge of what's happening. You've proven that you can handle deregulation, and you're responding to the changing workplace. With a reduction in heavy industry by 3 million people, how can you grow? Well, the facts are that there are 2 reports out that imply that there are as many as 10,000 new businesses started every week. Every week. They're small. Hey, my wife started a business. That's a one-person business, but it's a business. So I am not implying, but statistics show that today, as opposed to 10 years ago, over 50% of our workforce is in small businesses. And every one of these small businesses would be totally incapable of having their own credit union. Well, I don't ever remember Filene or Bergengren walking around saying, we've got to have credit unions, but only for big businesses. I think they said credit unions is a great idea, and we need everybody to go out and do something about this cooperative aspect of people controlling their own financial future. And I submit to you that you are the people sitting here in this room who have refired the enthusiasm for credit unions that was originally intended more than 50 years ago. And I don't think it's an accident that this is the anniversary and things seem to be starting all over again. Now, in my travels around town, dealing with my fellow regulators, etc., I have picked up a reputation of being an advocate. Okay? Now, an advocate is somebody who sells, believes, rah-rah. I don't think that comes as a surprise to you. But Congress, in its oversight role, my fellow regulators, etc., get very nervous with an advocate. Because, there's such a thought out there as, do we have a competition in laxity? That's another term that's used among regulators. So the point is, you're not really a regulator unless you're one mean son of a gun. So that's where I see the agency fitting in. That's where I see the state of the credit unions in terms of handling deregulation and expansion and so on. But I said I want to finish the job. One of the things Congress required of us in Garn St. Germain was take a look at the insurance fund. We did. And we reported back, and we told them we'd continue to study it, and what have you. And we've been dealing with people all over America and in an honest, open discourse of our concern about that fund and its vulnerability, reputation-wise, asset-wise, and so on. And we feel that a consensus of that talking has brought up a better way than double premiums. And so it's been proposed, Senator Garn has introduced a bill, 2121, that would capitalize this fund. The biggest problem, I got to tell you, right up front, with the chances of that passing is the fact that Ed Callahan's pushing it. I have taken on the mantle of being an insurance salesman, and you know how we feel about insurance salesmen. Well, that's the way it's going. But I tell you, it's a better idea, and I think we should finish the job. I may not be here a year from today, but I hope that you have a better way. And we really believe if you'll do the numbers, you'll find this is less costly. I don't want to hear any other rhetoric. Anyone who's done the numbers and they really think they can show me that it isn't a better way, please, shame on you if you don't come over and we discuss it. Chip Filson's sitting out here. He'll meet you in the back of the room. We want to know. We've looked at the numbers. We've had 2,000 letters from credit union managers who have looked at the numbers, and they support it. So don't knock it unless you've looked at the numbers. And if you have and you can show us, please share it with us. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So I just want to conclude by saying, look, I challenge you 2 years ago. I said, accept deregulation. It's a better way. You can do it. You'll do it. You've done it. I challenge you to be open to let your board decide on what your membership should be. And you've done it, and the thing is turning around and growing. I challenge you now to finish the job. And God bless you.